I never thought the man I loved would be the one to destroy me. Not with fists, not with screaming, but with silence, with slow betrayal, and with a kind of coldness that doesn't come overnight. It creeps in when you're too in love to notice. When I met Daniel, I was 26 and full of hope. I had just landed my first real job in marketing, fresh out of grad school. And he was this ambitious entrepreneur with wild dreams and a charming grin. He talked about building a business empire, and I believed every word he said. More than that, I believed in him. We moved in together within 6 months. He said it was practical. Why pay 2 rents? He joked. I gave up my apartment, and later, my job, to help him build his startup. You're better at branding than anyone I've hired, he told me, convincing me to come on board without pay. Just until we're profitable. I designed his brand, wrote his pitch deck, managed his social media, even handled his angry clients when things fell apart. I put everything into his dream. I didn't notice how mine was slowly disappearing. Then came the shift. The late nights. The business trips that didn't add up. The password changes. The excuses. I asked questions, but he always had smooth answers. I was paranoid. I was insecure. I was too emotional. But I wasn't wrong. One Tuesday morning, I woke up to an empty bed, a quiet apartment, and a lawyer's letter on the table. Daniel had left, just vanished. The accounts were drained. The business? He'd removed my name months ago. The lease was in his name. I was, quite literally, left with nothing but a toothbrush and a laptop. I sat on the floor that day and cried until my throat burned. Not because he left, but because I gave everything I had, and he walked away like I was nothing. But I wasn't. Nothing. Not then. And definitely not now. I stayed with a friend that first week. She offered me her couch and a warm meal, but I could tell she didn't want me there long. Pity has an expiration date. I learned that quickly. People are kind, but kindness fades when your sadness lingers too long. By the second week, I was living out of my car. At night, I parked in the back of a 24-hour gym and pretended to be on a long road trip. I'd go inside, splash water on my face, and tell myself this was temporary, that I just needed a plan. But I didn't even know where to begin. I was too ashamed to call my family, too exhausted to explain how I had let this happen. Truthfully, I was broken, not just financially. Something inside me had cracked, and I didn't know how to put the pieces back together. The woman who once pitched marketing strategies and built a brand from scratch couldn't even look herself in the mirror. I felt like I had failed at life, not just at love. Then one morning, while scrolling through free Wi-Fi at a public library, I came across a flyer. Learn to code. Free 8-week program for women in transition. Something about that word, transition, hit me. It wasn't just change. It was survival. It was a bridge from who I was to who I might. BECOME. I applied. I showed up early. I stayed late. I soaked in every lesson like my life depended on it. Because it did. And for the first time in months, I felt like I was becoming someone again. Not someone's assistant. Not someone's girlfriend. Just me. It was hard. I failed a lot. I cried through debugging sessions, but I kept going. I reminded myself that pain didn't mean I was weak. It meant I was still alive, still willing to try. After the program, I landed a small freelance job, building a website for a local florist. Then another, and another. Within 6 months, I had a steady flow of clients. Nothing fancy, but enough to afford a tiny apartment, a desk, and most importantly, my independence. I started dreaming again. Not about revenge. Not about getting even. just about becoming someone I could be proud of. I read business books at night. I studied contracts. I took online courses. I told myself every morning, you are not her anymore. You're the builder. Now, that's when I met Lena, a quiet investor at a women's entrepreneur meetup. I told her my story. I didn't sugarcoat it. I didn't pretend I was fine. I just told the truth. She didn't say much, but 3 days later, she emailed me, "If you're serious about launching your own tech agency, I'm in. Silent partner, $20K to start." I stared at the screen for a long time. I read her message 10 times over. It was the first time in a long while someone saw me not as a victim, but as a builder, a founder, a woman ready to rise. This was it. My second chance. Not to take back what Daniel stole, but to build something better. Something he'd never touch again. 2 years later, my company wasn't just surviving. It was booming. We had clients across 3 countries. A small but fierce team of 6, and we were preparing to pitch at one of the biggest startup summits in the region. I was nervous, yes, but more than that, I was proud. I had built this. With no handouts, no shortcuts. Just grit, quiet nights, and a refusal to stay broken. The event was in a glass tower downtown. I wore my favorite navy blazer and a gold chain my grandmother had given me, the only thing Daniel hadn't taken. As I waited backstage, I remembered sitting in that car, wiping tears, whispering promises to myself. I didn't break them. My pitch went smoothly. I could tell the audience was hooked. After the applause, I stepped off the stage, heart still pounding. And that's when I saw him. Daniel. Standing by the refreshment table like nothing had ever happened. Same smirk. Same polished shoes, but this time he looked older, slightly worn, and shocked to see me. He walked up slowly, like he wasn't sure I was real. "Hey," he said, that same fake warmth in his voice. "I've been following your company. You're doing amazing things." I nodded politely. "Thanks. You know," he added, leaning in, "we were good together once. Maybe we could grab coffee sometime, catch up." I smiled. But it wasn't the smile he remembered. It was the smile of a woman who had built herself from ash. "Daniel," I said, "I don't look back, and I don't carry trash forward." His face dropped. For the first time, I saw panic in his eyes. The same eyes that once looked through me now looked up at me. I turned and walked away, heels clicking like punctuation behind me. It didn't feel like victory. It felt like closure. He took everything once. My money, my time, my confidence. But now I had more than he could ever dream of. And the best part, this time, the last word was mine.